Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Way of Life. I'm your host, Gus Holland. Before we begin this episode, I want to inform you that wayoflifepodcast.com is officially live. That's where you can find all social media links. You can listen to the podcast. You can also find merch. That's WHEY, like the protein. As always, leaving a rating and review and sharing with a friend is the best way to help the podcast, and I greatly appreciate it. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. Hey, everybody. Today we're going to be covering programming and injury prevention. I don't normally use the word programming, but basically how to create a routine for yourself. This is going to be very, not basic, but entry level. People that have been working out for 5+ years, should be able to do this themselves. But you can always learn to do stuff better. So, I'm going to go over some basic, programming and some injury prevention stuff. It's a big deal because, even if you get into a habit of like continual exercise and, keeping yourself fit and healthy and everything like that, even that lifestyle is going to lead to, there's always some injury to try to avoid or prevent. For example, if you're a long distance runner, I mean, you're going to, you obviously want to prevent tendonitis or, sprains, things like that, joint wear and tear from, pounding on the concrete or the asphalt or whatever you're running on, stuff like that. Like it's your body's going to break down just from time regardless, but there are ways to prevent injuries and to really maximize your time within the gym. So some of this stuff is going to be some long-term, especially the hypertrophy guys. They might kind of scoff at it as far as like what I'm going to say for requirements of stretching and things like that for the injury prevention. But it does help, it's backed by science, and there are, it's a big deal. I mean, cause you can pull something or tear a bicep or a pec or whatever, and that's going to fuck you up for a while, if not lifelong. Like it will change lifelong how you are able to exercise and stuff like that. But, I'm kind of just rambling, but the importance is great. What I'm saying is a lot of people that know that it's good for you still don't do it and kind of scoff, kind of like in a gym bro type of way. But yeah, I'm just going to throw out the facts here. You choose what to incorporate into your programming, and so be it, So I'm going to knock out the injury prevention stuff since I kind of harped on that to begin with. And just to kind of get it out of the way, because it's applicable to any routine or any training or even day-to-day activities. I mean, especially if you work at a very repetitive job, kind of not necessarily monotonous, but you're doing the same thing over and over again each day, whether it's typing on a keyboard or sitting for extended amount of time. There are going to be some things that over time, 5-10 years down the road at your job, you're going to be like, man, I don't know why, but my lower back keeps seizing up whenever I try and stand up, or, you start developing sciatica or some sort of hip impingement or whatever. There are things in your daily life that are super simple to do that are going to be worth it in the long run. And yeah, I'm just going to kind of list them out right here. But regardless of the exercise, the routine programming, whatever, it is good to do a 5 to 10 minute warm up. Really just to get your heart rate up to kind of, close to what your actual exercise, your training is going to require from your heart, But yeah, so 5 to 10 minute warm up. And then really 10 to 15 minutes of mobility exercises, which I know it sounds like, cause some dudes just want to go out there and like knock out 30, like blast through their whole routine in like 30, 45 minutes. And that's fine from time to time, especially if you're in a time crunch or, you got to go back to work or you whatever, you worked late. I don't know. But the mobility exercises are key. Dude, even if you don't incorporate it into your routine, because what I have written out is really 5 to 10 minute warm up, 10 to 15 minute mobility exercise. Then you do your strength training exercises, which is, and this is just an example, legs, whatever it is, legs, chest, back, shoulders, arms, abs. And then you do a 5 to 10 minute cool down stretch. Now that's key for, that's all of those things. If you do it perfectly, it's going to reduce soreness. It's going to increase blood flow to the area that you worked out, for growth, if you're trying to grow muscle. And it's going to keep you basically more limber and prevent injury inside and outside of the gym. It's not ideal, but those mobility exercises can be done throughout the day or when you wake up or before you go to bed or whatever. Like any type of mobility work is going to be a game changer. Even it sounds ridiculous, but like so many people are looking at screens and stuff like that. Even just, I'm dead serious, like incorporate 2 minutes of neck mobility exercises to your day. Just do it for like a week and you're going to see like a massive improvement in the reduction of headaches, or neck pain, or waking up with a crick in your neck, whatever. And all of this stuff, you can literally just Google mobility exercises for neck or mobility exercises for hips or back, whatever the target area is. If you're incorporating it into your actual workout routine, obviously you want to target those mobility exercises toward what you're working out for the day. So if you're doing like deadlifts and squats and power cleans or whatever, obviously you're going to want to target flexion points, flexion and extension points. So like your hips, your lower back, shoulders, knees, whatever, depending on what you're doing that day. So just as an example, the neck exercises, there's neck flexion and extension, neck rotation, and neck side flexion, which is, just tilting your head from side to side. Those are going to be really helpful. You can incorporate a band with most mobility exercises. It's really helpful, especially on hip and lower back, mobility exercises. I'm going to just keep saying mobility exercises. As far as the cool down stretches go, the one that really helps, especially for guys that are really tight in their upper, like say you're doing, you've hit a stride with your neck and upper back training, and it always feels tight, like you need a back massage basically. A good thing to incorporate is something called child's pose, which is you're gonna feel it in your lower back, your hips, your knees. And if you really stretch out your arms when you're doing it, you're gonna feel it in your upper back and your shoulders as well. You can just Google that. It's more kind of yoga leaning, I guess, but it is really going to help you. And you can incorporate like a scalene stretch, which is really just pulling, that neck tilt, really stretching out your neck. You can do quad stretches. And then the forward fold, a lot of football guys do this just as a warm up stretch, kind of like trying to touch your toes, but lightly grabbing your calf muscle and pulling yourself toward that. That's really gonna you're hinging at the hip, but you're gonna feel it in your hamstrings and your lower back. So I'm not going to harp, I am harping, but I'm not going to keep going on with examples about mobility stretches and stuff. You probably get the point at this point, and you can just Google it. But I would say designing a routine if you built all of that in and you did it every day, you're going to see not only like a boost in your results, whether it's weight loss or muscle gain. But you're also going to see a significant reduction in injury and wear and tear on your joints and stuff. So another measurable variable is your range of motion. So whether you're like a performance athlete, or you're just like an office worker that is just now getting into exercise, one thing you can very easily measure is your range of motion. For a lot of guys, this goes for shoulder mobility. That's a big one. But you can check out measure shoulder mobility, and also like doing various like toe touches and stuff like that, flexibility. I mean, I know guys that they're groaning just when they bend over, like they're not even trying to touch toes or even pick anything up. It's like just bend over, keep your legs relatively straight and bend over, and they're like, oh, like, so that's something super measurable that, like, it sounds ridiculous, but like a lot of people don't actually squat down and pick anything up. They're just like leaning over, groaning about it, whatever. And it's like, yeah, in your 30s and 40s, it's just like, yeah, so whatever. I'm fine. I walk around. I don't have any pain, blah, 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 this and that. But then it quickly evolves into being, by the time you're 60, 70 years old, whatever, oh, I got to sit down to tie my shoes, or I need help tying my shoes, or, like that is all to do with mobility and range of motion. So, that's about it. That's all I'm going to say on that stuff, range of motion and mobility. But as far as building a program goes, I have covered it a little bit in the past, but the main thing is to sit down and figure out what your goals are. I mean, the common ones are weight loss and muscle gain, but there's a lot of people that just like it's a mobility issue, or they're trying to overcome an illness or injury, or come back from an injury. Maybe they're already healed up, but they're just not the same. There's all kinds of stuff. It can even be cardiovascular, or even like airflow. Like for me, there's a time in my life I've said it before, but I've had the lung issues before, and there was a time where I was doing exercises and stuff, like not for muscle gain, weight loss, or injury prevention, but literally just focusing on increasing my PFT scores. Um, not going to talk about it too much, but a PFT is a pulmonary function test, and it's literally just measuring the efficiency of your breathing, your lung capacity, small airway flow. There's a lot of different things that it measures, and it's normally done in a doctor or hospital setting. There are some like high end performance places, as far as like for athletes, that will measure, have similar tests to a PFT. But yeah, I mean, that there was a time in my life where that was the workout plan, or that's what it was built around, was let's increase his airflow and his VO2 max and all that stuff, just to improve quality of life. So you want to sit down, you want to pick your overall goal, and then what it's not necessary, but what I like to do is kind of break it down into like maybe like 2 or 3 smaller goals. So you have an overall goal of like, oh, I want to be stronger. Okay, cool. Then you can, if you know your maxes, that's your PRs, your personal records or whatever, that's really good. It's not necessarily required, but you can base it off of that. Like, oh, I want to add 10 pounds to my max bench or whatever. But the other thing is, or like in the strongman realm, you can literally like time yourself doing sandbag medley, and you keep the weight the same, but you're like, oh well, I want to shave 5 seconds off of my sandbag medley. And so that's actually, it's a strength goal, but that's also has to do with endurance and your cardiovascular health, believe it or not. Like I know a lot of strongmen don't do a lot of cardio, but or don't incorporate it into their training specifically. But I mean, that is what helps greatly, besides strength, obviously, on those truck pulls and the sandbag lifts and medleys and whatever tosses. Because there are, I mean, with the medleys, a lot of the time it's similar to football shuttle exercise. Like you're running to one sandbag and either lifting it up and placing it somewhere, or putting it over a barrier or whatever, maybe just shouldering it. And then you're running or jogging or whatever to the next one, and, doing that multiple times. One thing that's going to increase that obviously is your endurance and your PFT scores. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just rambling on with examples, but you want to sit down, set your goal, set 2 or 3 smaller goals that are maybe more specific, to specific lifts or weights that you want to reach, or if it's weight loss, maybe you have a body fat percentage goal and a weight goal. Who knows? But you sit down and set those goals, and then you're going to want to create your program based on those goals, obviously. Preferably with incorporating the warm up and the mobility exercises and cool down stretches. But a big deal is to chart your progress. You can get those like 97-cent composition notebooks. That's what I've always liked using, or a folder with like printouts in it, because a folder's thinner and everything. It's easy to carry around in the gym. You don't look too crazy. And you want to write down all of the work that you're putting in, because one, it's going to be good to look back on even if it's just for a motivational reason. But you can also maybe don't hit that weight goal. Maybe don't hit like 10 more pounds added to your bench press, but you can look back and be like, oh, wow, well, I did go up 5 pounds on my bench press, and I'm doing, I'm repping out 225 instead of 220. So I added 5 pounds to the weight that I'm working with. I'm making progress, and you can actually chart it, or at least get a vague visual of areas to improve in, or to change your programming. Some people don't want to go that much into detail, but even if it's just basic charting, like I ran 30 minutes today, that's awesome, because you're going to be able to keep track of the work that you put in, and then you keep track of the results, and you can change everything from that. I mean, that's the super basic layman version of creating a program or a routine. The reason I'm harping so much on this injury prevention stuff, and the mobility and stretching and everything, mobility exercises and stretching, is 46% of injuries are sprains, which are damage to a ligament, or strains, which is basically like an overstretch or a tear in your tendon or muscle. So that's 46% of injuries that are that people receive. And so it's a lot harder to accomplish a strain or a sprain if you're doing those warm up and cool down exercises, especially if you're doing the mobility things. I personally like to do the mobility stuff before work, and maybe a little bit during work, like even while I'm eating, stretching a couple things or something. But it all depends on your work and everything. I mean, now with your programming or your training or whatever, there are several different ways to vary it, or several variables. I'm going to use strength training as an example, or hypertrophy training. Those are the common ones, especially for young men. But the big reason for charting all this stuff, whether it's in a journal, a notebook, folder, whatever, is because of the variables. So you have your standard like volume variable within training, which is the amount of work that you're doing. So this is the amount of reps, the amount of sets, but also the actual weight that you're throwing around. So those are some variables, but then there's also training intensity. So it refers to the amount of reps, but it also refers to the speed at which you're doing the reps. So even if you're, kind of like an NFL combine, they're doing, they do 225 on the bench, right? But it's timed, and they're trying to get as many reps, solid reps that are controlled as possible. So that is the intensity. I mean, if you go up there and you just you have a minute and you knock out 5 reps, that's 5 reps. That's going to be low intensity. You didn't go as fast and as hard as you could, and you don't have to go as fast and hard as you can, but in that specific situation, that scenario, obviously you want to. So normally, just for basic training scenario, low reps is considered 1 to 6, moderate is considered 6 to 12, and high rep is normally over 12. So the low reps 1 to 6 is best for building strength. Moderate rep 6 to 12 is best for building muscle, and high reps are normally best for building muscular endurance. Really any type of endurance, but endurance. Most of the hypertrophy guys, like you're going to see them normally sticking. I mean, 8 reps is a pretty good sweet spot for a lot of guys. Like 3 sets of 8, 4 sets of 7 or 8, but that also depends on the weight you're doing, Another variable that we've already talked about, but it's the range of motion. I mean, obviously, if you can't put your arms above your head, you're not going to be doing dumbbell tricep extension, like over your head, or you're probably not going to be doing skull crushers. So that's a variable to take into consideration, but it's also a variable that can be worked on, normally outside of your actual training program. So you want to, another thing that you can monitor, that a lot of people don't, is their fatigue level. So it sounds silly. I mean, I don't do it, but I have in the past, actually written down how tired I was, or if I felt a little off or sick, or didn't get good sleep, whatever. It's a good thing to annotate that within your workouts, not as an excuse, because that's bullshit, but to keep track of, like maybe a week from now, you can say, oh, well, last week I did this work, but I put on here, I was really tired. I thought I was coming down with a cold or something. I ended up not getting a cold, but it's a week later now, and I'm actually feeling really great today. It's time to do these same exercises or something similar. I bet I can do the same or better than what I previously tracked, so that's a good thing. And then a very obvious one, but your training split, how many times per week are you hitting the gym in general? But also annotating if it was a full, maybe you're doing 3 times per week, but it's full body, versus like 4 times per week and you're doing like 2 upper days and 2 lower days. Or maybe you're splitting it into push-pull exercises. Like this is all stuff that can be tracked, and it's really not that hard to just kind of, even if it's like kind of chicken scratch, like you're like upper day, lower day, full body, whatever. But yeah, I like to actually, what I do is track every exercise I do, the sets, and the reps, and the weight. That's normally what I do. I also like to, like, if I'm on a consistent schedule where I'm training out like every day before work or before school, then I actually like to track what I've eaten or consumed since I woke up. Like, even if it's just a glass of water, or breakfast or a snack. Yeah, the supplements. Yeah, so that's something good to keep track of and monitor. It helps me monitor my glycogen levels, honestly. Like, I personally like to drink like a little bit of water in the morning. Ideally, a little bit of water in the morning, brush your teeth, all that stuff. But and then I like to consume a piece of like fibrous fruit, like a plum or something like that. That gives me some sugar, some fiber. And me personally, it really helps me out on my workout. But then, after the workout, I like to eat. Like, I'm pretty freaking hungry after a workout and not really eating anything much before. So then that's when I get like, I'll do a protein drink almost immediately after working out. And then basically that'll satiate me until I can cook an actual meal or do one of those like heat up pre-made meals. Yeah, so it's a good idea to track your as much as you can, as much as you're comfortable with. That doesn't seem tedious, because the more tedious you make this like lifestyle or lifestyle change, whatever it is for you, the less likely you are to continue it. So start small. Well, that about wraps it up for today. I know that was fairly vague. I did throw in some good examples there as far as those mobility exercises, but you can always Google that stuff and get like an exhaustive list of stretches and mobility training and whatever. Next week, I'm going to go fully into detail on specific workout plans, with like a bunch of example exercises and everything, and really covering strength training, hypertrophy, and endurance. Probably, I think those three will be a good start, and give you guys some really good insight on some beginner, intermediate, and advanced training schedules. So anyways, thank y'all so much for the support. You can check out the website, wayoflifepodcast.com. That would be a big help, because that shows where you can listen to the podcast. It shows where you can leave ratings and reviews. It also has the merch shop there, and all of the money from the merch shop goes back into the podcast. So yeah, really trying to grow this thing, trying to get some good guests for you guys. For the time being, I'm just going to keep trying to put out some actual like science-based knowledge, and help y'all out wherever I can. If you liked the episode, or you liked episodes before, feel free to share it with a friend, leave a rating and review. And that's about it. Thank y'all so much for the support, and y'all have a great week. All right. Bye.